everyone, welcome to Olive City Homestead. It's Kim here, and today I want to share with you about one of my most interesting trees, and that is the strawberry tree, otherwise known as the Arbutus unedo. Now this tree goes by many other names. It is most famously called the strawberry tree, but it's also called the cane apple or apple of cane, and some people call it the madronas because that is the Spanish name for it. In Greece, where it originated, or I shouldn't say where it originated, where it is commonly found today, let's put it that way, there it is known as the Koumaria, and its fruit, the Koumaria. So what is this tree? And what are those little round balls that are on it that start off yellow, get orange, and eventually turn red in the fall, late fall usually? Are those fruits that are called strawberry fruits, strawberry tree fruits, Koumaras? Are they edible, and what do they taste like? Let's find out. So first of all, I want to show you what one looks like, a ripe one. So I pulled some out of my freezer because that's where I keep them all winter, and I still had one bag left. So this is what one looks like. Let's see if I can bring it into focus here. Ooh, that's a little close. There we go. So this one is a little on the small side. It's about 3/4 of an inch in diameter, and usually they're about an inch in diameter. And what do they taste like? Well, they smell a little bit, well, I have to be honest, this is kind of faint after being frozen, but fresh they smell a little bit like anise, which is that black licorice taste and smell, but they don't taste that way at all, okay? Okay, so anything that has the name strawberry in it, you know, that has a lot of competition. It does have similarities to the taste of strawberry, it really does. But it has its own flavoring too. I've read it compared to a guava mixed with a nectarine, and I think that is a really, really good description if you added in that it has a hint of strawberry too. Probably a third of each, I'd say. That's, you know, my opinion with the trees that I have. But yeah, it does have a scent that's somewhat like an anise, which sort of put me off of it when I first smelled it because I don't like black licorice at all. But I'd heard what it tasted like, so I went for it anyway because, and yeah, why? Because I got these trees because I love the look of them. As you'll see in just a moment when I show you mine, they're really gorgeous, in my opinion anyway. The trunk is really red, and it reminded me of another tree that I love, which is actually the second variety of what is called the strawberry tree, which is the Arbutus minzici. And that one is found in the Pacific Northwest. I first saw it in Oregon, where my father lived at the time, and I thought it was gorgeous with its red sort of peeling trunk, and that is the madrone. And the Pacific madrone is known for its appearance, and it grows pretty wild over there, or I should say up there. It's about 5 or 6 hours north of me. And I love the look of it. But then I read that, and actually saw on a YouTube video, that the strawberry tree Arbutus unedo is actually, its berries are even more edible than the other varieties of Arbutus. Because there are a few more varieties, by the way. If you live back in the eastern United States, you might be familiar with the other kinds that are more decorative, more ornamental. And they are the Arbutus andrachnoides and andrachnae. Yeah, that's the main one, andrachnae. So both of those have edible berries too, but they're much smaller, much blander from what I've been told. I haven't actually tasted them. And they look quite a bit different. The bark on the andrachnae is kind of cinnamon colored, which sounds pretty nice. And the bark on the andrachnoides is yellow to, what is it? I think it actually turns to red, yellow to red, and it's very smooth. But out here in the West, the one that is most common and definitely has the most edible, most commonly thought of as yummy fruit is the Arbutus unedo. So what else about the tree? Well, it can grow 15 to 30 feet tall, although you can easily keep it pruned to be a small bush or tree, which is what I'm going to do because it grows pretty slowly. It only grows about 10 to 12 inches a year. It's hardy in at least zone 7, and it's good up to zone 10. I have read that some of the varieties are actually hardy down to zone 4 or 5, so definitely you could give it a try. It does like full sun though, and especially if you're in one of those cooler climates, I would suggest putting it in full sun. It loves well-drained soil. It's pretty good about any kind of soil, even clay, but it definitely needs to be well-drained. And where I have it is what it prefers, the sort of Mediterranean type of soil that is found in many places in Greece, and which I have here in my 9B sort of Mediterranean climate in Northern California, a kind of rocky, sandy, clayish mixture. And it's very dry. So has done very well here. I've had them for 2 years. One is a little older than the other. And you know, they look a little different as they've grown over the 2 years. One of them has much redder, more peeling bark than the other. Now, they were both sold as Arbutus unedos, but I'm kind of wondering if one of them is something else. So I'm going to keep an eye on them. But so far, their fruit has been the same. So maybe it's just a natural variety in the bark, or maybe it's a difference in their age. I'm not quite sure. But what else about them? Well, their leaves are gorgeous. They're like little bells hanging down, and they range in color from white to pink. Mine are slightly white with a very dark pink tinge around the edges, and I just find that gorgeous. It actually looks kind of like a little Christmas tree, since the leaves are evergreen, nice dark green, glossy and serrated. And it looks like a Christmas tree because the little blooms hang down like little bells or little Christmas tree ornaments. That's how I think of it.
Here's one of my trees last January. Strawberry trees blossom beautifully all winter long.
The really interesting thing about this tree, to me anyway, is that it takes a full year to develop its fruit. So when it's blossoming, which is right now at the end of November, it's also ripening its fruit and getting ready to harvest its fruit this month and next. And so as soon as the fruits are harvested, you already have new fruits starting to develop. But yeah, they take a full year. So I find that fascinating. And it's also very pleasing to the eye because all year round you have either blossoms, small developing fruits, or beautiful yellow, orange, and then finally red little balls, which is another reason I think it looks like a Christmas tree. Whether it's blooming in the fall or ripening over the summer and early fall and then harvesting in the late fall with red balls on it, it always looks like it's decorated. And it always has those dark green leaves. It's just gorgeous in my opinion, and very unusual. Also, it's very hardy. You really don't have to do much to make it thrive. It sort of thrives on its own, and that's my kind of tree. So let's head over to the trees and take a look. So there she is. This is my younger one, and you can see she has some strawberry fruits on her, or Koumaria, as they call them in Greece, and she has some blossoms. And I'll get up close so you can see. You can see, first of all, that the little round balls are orange right now. Now, my climate, as I said, is 9B, and we have a very hot, dry summer. So until very recently, it was hot. It's only been cooling off very suddenly in the last couple of weeks. And so I have a later ripening time. My fruits usually don't come ripe until December. These, on the other hand, are the new blossoms. And you can see what I mean by the fact that they're bell-shaped and look like little ornaments. So they start off very tiny, and then they grow to this size, and they hang all over the tree. I will get a lot more clusters of them as time goes on, and these will continue to ripen. Now, usually I have a lot more fruits. I say usually, I've only had 2 harvests before now, but both of those times I had a lot more fruit on the trees. I've thinking that the reason that there's less this year on this tree, aside from it being the younger one, is the fact that we had a very strange year. So usually it's really hot and really sunny all summer long, actually from about March until November. However, we had a lot of wildfires within a 2 to 3 hour distance from us in several directions throughout August and September. And those wildfires were so severe that we had a thick smoke cover here for, about a month. you know, overall, two weeks, 2.5 weeks at a time, couple days break, and then it hit us again. And when I say thick smoke, I really mean that. I'll put a link above to a very short video I did the day that the first wildfire broke out, and it was like the apocalypse here. Anyway, after that, not only did we lose the sunlight, but we lost temperature. So our temperature went down about 30 to 35 degrees for several weeks during that time. And the plants were very confused. So they didn't all do as well, yeah, or even just they didn't behave in the same manner that they usually do, the same time frame that they usually do. And maybe that's what affected the strawberry tree. I don't know. But I do know that she's got a lot of blossoms on her now, so I think that we're good heading into this next year. Now let's go take a look at the other one, who's a year older. While we're here, look at the bark on this. See how red it is and how it peels? I love this. It's just so artistic, and it really reminds me of that Pacific Madrone, and yet I have the benefit of these fruits and these beautiful blossoms. So this is my other strawberry tree, and you can see it does have fruits on it, but they are green. They're starting to turn yellow. You can also see that the bark, while peeling, is not nearly as red. I'll be very curious to follow these two trees along and see how they compare in the future. This one, as you'll notice, doesn't have any blossoms on it right now either. I feel like it's a month or two behind the other one. It's actually older, and I've cut it down several times. Not cut it all the way down, but I've cut it down in size several times so that the younger one can catch up to it in height. Right now, this one's about 4.5, 5 feet tall. The other one is about 3.5, 4 feet tall. So I'll continue to even them up. But this one is more in the shade, and I believe that is why it is taking longer for its fruits to ripen and to send out blossoms. But I'll keep you updated on my garden tours, and we'll see when this one blossoms. I do find them both very beautiful though, and I'm looking forward to seeing how they do in years to come. One thing I need to do here is get this Bermuda grass out. Yeah, it has overrun the area around it. So that's on my list of things to do this week. So the word arbutus means struggle. So I'm not really sure why they called the plant that, because it doesn't really struggle. Maybe because it can struggle to live anywhere. I think maybe that's it. I'm not sure, because mine just thrives, even in the weird weather we've had this year. But the second name, unedo, that means I eat only one, which is odd. You could take that two ways, couldn't you? You could take it that, well, it's so bad, or it's so blah, so bland that I only need to eat one. Or you could take it as it's so delicious, I only need to eat one. I think the interpretation maybe is up to you. I do not find them bland at all. But if you're going to compare it to an actual real strawberry, you're going to be disappointed, because it'd be like comparing an apple to a strawberry or a fig. They just don't taste the same. Or a lemon, they just don't taste the same. But if you know what you're going to expect, I think you'll find them wonderful, because I know a lot of other people do. One thing about gardening is you have to have patience. You have to kind of take the long view. Because, I'm down here on the ground next to this tree, so you can see the fruits in the bark, and it's only 3.5 feet tall, 4 feet tall. But I know what it's going to be like. I can envision it at, I might let this get 6 or 8 feet tall and top them there. Most of my fruit trees I keep right at 6 feet so I can reach all the fruit. These I might get a little bit taller and leave the couple of top feet to the birds, because the birds love these fruits. In Greece, they take the Koumaria, the fruit, and they distill it into a very hard liqueur, and it's called Koumaro, or Koumaro. It's really hard to know what these things actually are pronounced like, but instead of an A on the end, it has an O. From Koumaria fruit to Koumaria, the hard liqueur. Kind of like moonshine from what I've read. Maybe I'll give it a shot myself sometime. Right now, though, what I usually do is I usually freeze them and use them in smoothies. They make wonderful smoothies. I mean, their texture, I don't think I mentioned it before, but their texture is very, very smooth in your mouth. And you get this creamy, very nice texture. In fact, here's another little tip for you. If you freeze them, you can just pop them and eat them. They're like little ice creams, right? Just like that. Fresh, raw, frozen. They're like little ice creams. Kind of like people will freeze bananas and eat them like banana ice cream. These are very similar, and that's why they make such good additions to smoothies, because they add that sweetness. They add a lot of vitamin C and fiber, because the skin, well, it's not really a skin, but the outer part of the fruit is that bumpy little seedy-like texture, kind of like a strawberry, but a little bumpier. It's not annoying at all. It's not like, I'm not a person that eats seeds when I eat citrus, but so if it was like that, I wouldn't like this, but it's not. But it's there, and so you get that texture right at the end after you get the creamy. And so yeah, I use them in smoothies. But now I'm going to share with you a very simple and very delicious jam recipe. The jam recipe is so easy. It is simply a pound of the Arbutus unedo fruit, the strawberry fruit, the Koumaria, a pound of it, and a half a pound of sugar, and 2 ounces of orange liqueur. You could probably try another liqueur, but I think that one works well. And then at the end, the very end, you're going to add a little bit of spices to it if you'd like. And this is optional. It's to your taste. You can add cinnamon, cloves, nutmeg. And I also like to add a little vanilla too sometimes. Anyway, before you add the spices, what you want to do is just boil in a very small amount of water the fruit until it's soft, and then put it through a mill, or you could press it by hand. And you're not trying to sieve out anything. You're just pressing it, getting it nice and mashed and soft. And then you're going to reheat it with the liqueur and the sugar. And you're going to simmer it until when you take a drop and put it on a chilled dish, it will mound up nicely. Then it's done. And I'll put a recipe for both of these in the description below. But for jelly, the difference is you're going to strain the flesh through cheesecloth and just take the liquid that results and make it into its jelly. These are so good. Now that I've said that word popping them like little ice cream balls, I can't stop thinking about doing it. Really good. But you know, now that I'm thinking about it, I want to go make some more jam. I hope you enjoyed today. And if you like gardening ideas, new interesting gardening tips about plants you may not have heard of before, or that you just haven't got around to trying yet, maybe I can be that inspiration for you. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. That way you'll know whenever I upload a new video. This channel is all about living simply, living self-reliantly, and enjoying your life, because you can create the life that you want and the gardens you want. You can. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise.